The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the bustling parking lot of Ralph's grocery store in Burbank, California. Terry Crews had just finished his weekly shopping run, something he'd made a personal ritual despite his busy schedule filming. America's Got Talent. The 6'3" actor and former NFL player pushed his cart toward his black SUV, mentally reviewing his evening plans with his wife Rebecca and their kids. As Terry loaded organic vegetables and protein bars into his vehicle, he heard a frustrated sigh nearby. He glanced over to see an elderly African-American woman, probably in her 70s, struggling with several heavy grocery bags beside a weathered Honda Civic. She was wearing a faded purple cardigan and sensible shoes, her gray hair neatly pulled back despite the obvious exhaustion on her face. The woman, who introduced herself as Mrs. Dorothy Washington, was trying to lift a particularly heavy bag filled with canned goods and household items. Her arthritis-gnarled hands shook with the effort, and Terry could see her wincing with each attempt. "Ma'am, let me help you with those," Terry said, approaching with his characteristic warm smile. Dorothy looked up, initially startled by the large man approaching her, but her wariness quickly melted when she saw his genuine expression of concern. "Oh, that's very kind of you, young man," she said, breathing heavily. "These bags seem to get heavier every week." Terry carefully took the bags from her hands, noting how her fingers were swollen and clearly painful. "No problem at all. Which car is yours?" As he helped load her groceries into the trunk of her old Honda, Terry noticed something that made his heart sink. The back seat was packed with what appeared to be all of Dorothy's belongings: clothes and garbage bags, a few family photos, and a worn pillow. "Mrs. Washington," Terry said gently, Are you living in your car?" Dorothy's proud facade crumbled slightly and she nodded with embarrassment. "Just temporarily," she said quickly. "My apartment building was sold last month and they tripled the rent. I'm on a fixed income and I just couldn't afford it anymore." Terry's expression grew serious as he listened to her story, his own memories of financial struggles flooding back. Terry closed Dorothy's trunk gently and leaned against the car, giving her his full attention. The parking lot around them buzzed with typical suburban life: families loading groceries, teenagers on skateboards, the distant hum of traffic on the 134 freeway. "Mrs. Washington, I want you to know that I understand more than you might think," Terry said, his voice taking on a deeper, more personal tone. "Before I became an actor, before any of this," he gestured toward his expensive SUV, "my family and I went through some really tough times." Dorothy looked up at him with curiosity, not recognizing him as a celebrity, but sensing the sincerity in his words. Terry continued, "There were nights when Rebecca and I didn't know how we were going to pay rent, let alone buy groceries. I remember eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for days because that's all we could afford. I remember the shame of having to ask for help." "You seem to have done well for yourself," Dorothy observed, noting his nice clothes and kind demeanor. "I have, and I'm grateful every single day. But I also remember that success means nothing if you don't use it to help others when you can." Terry pulled out his phone, but not to take a selfie or post about his good deed. Instead, he was making calls. "Mrs. Washington, do you have any family in the area? My grandson Marcus lives about an hour away, but he's struggling too. Just lost his job at the warehouse. I don't want to be a burden to him." Terry nodded thoughtfully. He understood the pride that kept people from asking for help, even from family. "What if I told you there might be another option? I know some people who run transitional housing programs for seniors. Good people who understand that sometimes life just hits you with circumstances beyond your control." Dorothy's eyes began to well up with tears. "I don't understand why you're being so kind to a stranger." "Because you're not a stranger," Terry replied firmly. "You're someone's grandmother, someone who has lived and worked and contributed to this world, and right now you need help. That's reason enough." Terry spent the next hour making phone calls while Dorothy sat in her car, alternating between hope and disbelief. He contacted his friend Maria Santos, who ran a nonprofit organization called Golden Years Haven that provided transitional housing. for elderly people facing homelessness. "Maria, I'm here with someone who needs help," Terry explained over the phone, walking a few steps away to give Dorothy some privacy. "She's a lovely woman who lost her housing through no fault of her own." Within 30 minutes, Maria arrived at the parking lot in her organization's van. She was a warm Latina woman in her 40s who had dedicated her life to helping vulnerable seniors after her own grandmother had faced similar struggles. "Mrs. Washington," Maria said, approaching with a clipboard and a reassuring smile. "Terry tells me you might be interested in learning about our program." Dorothy looked nervously between Terry and Maria. "I'm not looking for charity," she said with dignity. "I'm willing to work, to contribute somehow." "We wouldn't expect anything else," Maria replied. "Our residents help with community gardens, mentor young people, assist with office work, whatever matches their skills and interests. This isn't charity, it's community." Terry watched as Maria explained the program. Clean, safe individual apartments within a supportive community, meals provided, healthcare assistance, and most importantly, respect and dignity for each resident. The best part, Maria continued, is that we help people transition back to independent living when they're ready. Some stay a few months, others longer, depending on their needs. Dorothy wiped away tears she'd been holding back for weeks. "I used to be a teacher," she said quietly. "Taught 3rd grade for 37 years. We have an after-school tutoring program," Maria said immediately. "The kids would love to learn from someone with your experience." Terry felt his own eyes getting misty as he watched Dorothy's face transform from despair to hope. "What do I need to do?" Dorothy asked. "Just say yes," Maria smiled. "We can move you in today if you'd like." 2 weeks later, Terry received a text message that made him smile during a break in AGT filming. It was a photo from Maria showing Dorothy in a bright yellow apron, surrounded by smiling children in the Golden Years Haven tutoring program. The AV caption read, "Mrs. Dorothy is already changing lives." That evening, Terry drove back to Golden Years Haven to visit Dorothy. He found her in the community garden, teaching a 7-year-old boy named Miguel how to plant tomatoes. "Mr. Cruz," Dorothy called out, her face beaming. "Look at our garden. Miguel here is going to be a master gardener someday." The little boy looked up at Terry with wide eyes. "Are you really on TV?" "I am," Terry laughed, kneeling down to Miguel's level. "But more importantly, are you really going to be a master gardener?" "Yes. Mrs. Dorothy is teaching me about photosynthesis and everything." As Miguel ran off to show other children his newly planted seeds, Dorothy and Terry walked toward a bench overlooking the garden. "Terry, I don't know how to thank you," Dorothy said. "You didn't just help me find housing. You helped me find my purpose again. Mrs. Washington, you thanked me the moment you said yes to letting people help you. That takes courage." Dorothy nodded thoughtfully. "You know, I've been thinking about our conversation in that parking lot. You said success means nothing if you don't use it to help others. I meant that. Well, I may not have money or fame, but I have 67 years of life experience, and I'm using every bit of it with these children. Success isn't just about what you accumulate, it's about what you give away." Terry felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over him. "Mrs. Washington, I think you just taught me something important." As the sun set over Burbank, Terry realized that sometimes the people we think we're helping end up helping us the most. Dorothy had reminded him that kindness is never wasted, that dignity doesn't depend on circumstances, and that everyone has something valuable to contribute. 6 months later, Dorothy had saved enough money from her part-time tutoring work to move into a small apartment nearby, but she continued volunteering at Golden Years Haven every day. Terry established a scholarship fund for the program, and Maria expanded to serve twice as many seniors. The parking lot encounter had created a ripple effect of kindness that continued to spread throughout the community, proving that sometimes the smallest acts of compassion can change multiple lives forever. Thank you for watching this heartwarming story about kindness and community. If this touched your heart, Please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring real-life stories, and share this video with someone who could use a reminder that compassion can change the world, one person at a time. Your support helps us continue bringing these meaningful stories to light.